We are getting closer to World War III. This is a news coming right now as we speak. We are getting close to World War III. So, what is happening? Before I share with you what is happening, I want to actually share with you a very interesting news that came just a few hours ago. And that news is about Pakistani UN envoy. Let's take a listen what
Mr.
he has to
President, the
say.
text that has been proposed by the Arab and the Islamic countries in L25 is a humanitarian text.
Okay, so basically he's talking about the original sin. I mean, obviously Pakistani right now, they're struggling financially. They cannot help. The only way they can help would be nuclear weapon, but that is very unlikely at the moment. And so this person at the UN, he was talking about the original sin. Good on him. Let's take a listen at this video. I know, and you all know, that the Secretary of Defense of Israel, they call Hamas human animal. What about these people? Can you tell me, caption this? These are people mocking the Palestinian suffering, the killing of innocent civilians, children, men, women. They're mocking them. So what do you call them? Are they human animal or are they worse than that? Let me know in the comment section below. Now let's get back to the original news of today, and that is that we are, guys, getting closer and closer to WW3, and this is what Colonel McGregor from US has to say. Let's take a listen.
On the show today, he's a retired U.S. Army colonel, combat veteran, author, consultant, military TV analyst, an amazing lit on fire right now with a little commentary on that.
Of very foolish people who've decided that this is something that Israel and the United States should capitalize on, that this is Israel's time to strike and wage a war of annihilation against Gaza and its population, without understanding that this is enraging the entire Muslim world from Morocco all the way to Indonesia.
Yep.
And we're also pretending, and I think the Israelis are making this mistake as well, that the region is largely unchanged from what it was 50 years ago. That, just as they went through something similar in 73 where they were surprised and had to rebound from it, now they think, well, we'll take advantage of this and we'll just settle our differences. And
yeah, I mean, Colonel McGregor, he said this before too, that same thing, which is that the Muslim world, the Arabian countries, especially in that region, this Muslim world, they have changed quite a bit over the past 70, or I should say, not 70, 50 years since the battle took place with Israel, between Egypt, Jordan, Israel in 1973. Basically, his point is that things have changed. Now you cannot have the same calculation for Israel and go to war and fight with these Muslim countries, hoping the same outcome, because we know in 1973, in that war, the Israeli military, they won the war. So this is what Colonel McGregor he is referring to. But we know that he also said in this interview that we are getting closer and closer to WW3.
Netanyahu, who effectively, for all intents and purposes, controls the United States Congress,
Yep,
and effectively determines what we will do for them militarily and otherwise, thinks that this is the moment to crush Hamas. Problem is, Hamas is probably not going to be crushed. If they go into Gaza at all, they're going to take heavy casualties. They'll kill lots of people, most of whom are not necessarily part of Hamas. The international situation will get worse.
yeah.
And, Hamas is more than just a group of people. It's an idea. And it's very difficult to kill ideas. You can kill lots of people, but killing ideas is a tough challenge. And in the meantime, you've got a very ominous development. Iran, of course, is a very powerful state. People act as though, well, it's backward. Not really. You've got to look at its arsenal of missiles, its developments in aerospace science,
Yep.
its technology, its engineers. No, Iran does not possess a large ground force.
Now let's take a look, since we're talking about Iran and other countries, let's take a look at this video, because this video shows confrontation between Chinese and US ships in the Mediterranean, I believe. And you can clearly see that there was some provocation going on between China, their warship, and US warship. And this is something that was posted by Chinese military, and they're saying that it is the states, United States, that are trying to create more trouble and conflict, if possible, between these two nations. It's not the other way around. It's not Chinese military, it's the US military. Their provocation is relentless. This is what they are saying. Let's take a look at Conor McGregor a little bit more, because he's coming to the main point that I said about at the very beginning of this video about the World War III.
Hurl into action, but it can reasonably destroy Israel with the missile arsenal at its disposal.
Wow. That's
Then
crazy.
you have an even more ominous development, and that is the Turks have now effectively said, if this does not stop, we will intervene and go to war with Israel. Well, Turkey has almost 90 million people, has the largest army in NATO, large air forces,
Yeah.
large everything. It has the largest drone fleet, over 500 or something in that neighborhood of dangerous drones in the world.
Well, here's the thing, though. Turkey is trying everything possible in order to resolve this situation through peace. And this is why Erdogan, he openly invited all parties to come on the negotiation table and stop this bloodshed. But at the same time, you also have to understand, Turkey, as this colonel is referring to, Erdogan, he has a huge army and the second largest in NATO. Therefore, if he cannot strike a peace deal between Hamas and Israel, and the bloodshed continues on, then the next thing that he will do, obviously, will try to use his military force in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be a direct confrontation between Turkish and Israeli army. It could be that he would war with Israel on a proxy basis, just like Iran is doing. Turkey might get involved in some kind of proxy war, and that will only make Israel's situation much, much worse. Remember, if Turkey does get involved in that kind of warfare, proxy warfare, then what will happen? Israel will have to fight this kind of battle forever. They cannot stop Iran. How can they stop Turkish military, Turkish government, again, if they go on a proxy war with Israel? But definitely something is going to be happening without a shadow of a doubt. Erdogan is not going to just sit there and talk the talk. It is time for him to do something. And he actually indicated, if you have watched him talking in the parliament, he directly said that we will be using military forces if needed. And this is not something you should take lightly, and Israel, you should not take it lightly, and even for the states, they should not take it lightly, because this is not somebody talking without doing anything. This is someone, Erdogan is someone who will live up to his words. And if he does get involved, again, he doesn't want to. Turkey doesn't want a war with Israel, because it's not good for the entire region, for the Middle East. I mean, the people of Palestine will suffer even more. We know that Turkey, Erdogan, he knows it. He wants peace. He doesn't need a war. But again, he does have that reservation. In that speech he gave, he had this reservation that I'm going to be using military force. And he said that, I am quoting him, quote unquote, that we will, if necessary, use military force to bring an end to this conflict, the suffering of the Palestinian people.
Whereas Great Britain has 10, the Turks have over 500. So do the Iranians. They've developed some of the most lethal things. And what's really interesting about this is that the Shia and the Sunni have always been at one another's throats. Yeah. And Israel seems to have achieved something that nobody else has in the last 1,000 years, and that is to unite Sunni and Shia against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are now shipping over, as I understand it, at least 4 carrier battle groups, along with battalions of air and missile defense forces, probably a couple of thousand special forces. Remember, we've already got 1,000 American soldiers in Syria, in close proximity to both Turkey and Iran, which is not a good thing. A couple of weeks ago, we shot down a Turkish drone. And this morning, I guess, we launched strikes at Iranian-backed militias in the area. It looks bad. And I don't think we're ready for any of it. We don't have any ground forces to send. The U.S. Army is down to 450,000. It's obviously demoralized and miserable. I don't think we're in a position to do much. A couple of thousand Marines sitting offshore is interesting, but not terribly potent. And if they try to go ashore, they'll be nice targets, but I don't think they're going to add much.
Plus, a lot of these Marines are, who knows, homosexuals.
So the best that we can do is launch air power and cruise missiles, which we've already begun. This puts us at war, obviously, with Iran and potentially Turkey. And once Turkey and Iran are both engaged, I would expect the Russians to come in, simply because Russia is a de facto ally of Iran. Iran has supported Russia in Ukraine. And the disappointing thing for Moscow is that Moscow is always accommodating the Israelis.
I mean, Putin only yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, he tested. There was a simulation of a nuclear strike, and experts they're saying the reason why Putin is doing it at this time is because he took his country out of this nuclear peace treaty, whatever they were doing, and so. Of course, Putin is going to get involved in some way, shape, or form. Again, they are already fighting in Syria. Putin, Russia is fighting in Syria. They might even fight with Israelis using proxies. So when we talk about Hezbollah or Hamas, we are not talking about these two groups are being supported only by Iran anymore. They are not. They are supported by Russia. They are supported by many other countries, maybe North Korea. In fact, when they went, these forces, IDF, Zionist terrorist forces, went into Gaza, or when actually they were attacked, went into, but when they were attacked, they found that these 500 people who entered Israel were trained by Iran, and the weapon they have used, they were coming from North Korea. So we are not talking about here one country that is backing this proxy groups to fight for them, which is Iran. We are not talking just about Iran. It is not Iran anymore only. It is also Russia. It is also North Korea. It is also now, looks like to me, Turkey is going to be the next one to pitch in and say, you know what, we're going to give you a weapon, go and fight Israel. And so Israel is not seeing any solution. There is no solution to this conflict for Israel. Hamas, they might inflict a huge damage, a lot of casualties, which we regret for the loss of life, civilian life. But that's all they can do. They cannot wipe out Hamas anymore. It is now out of question. It is out of reach for Israel, for IDF forces. Hamas, if they were be wiped off, then they would have not attacked Israel. Hamas knows that they are very, very strong. They have backing from many countries, and therefore they launched that attack. So for Israel, it's not a good news. It is going to be a disaster, a complete failure. And now the Yahudi Jew, good brothers and sisters from Judaism, they're good. There are a lot of good people in Jew, and we love them. They are now saying that Netanyahu is somebody who is weak. He's not doing the right thing. His Zionist regime is destroying this religion. And so his own people are against him now, and we appreciate that. So therefore, the pressure is going to be coming from all sides from Israel, for Israel. And therefore, when this army general, he actually made a comment in his other video, another interview, he said that Israel may not even exist at the end. And I totally agree with him. Now take a look at yourself, because the Israel's enemy, the number is growing. But Israel's defense force, defense budget cannot grow, cannot increase, because U.S. taxpayers now, they're very, very careful where their money is going, and they're calling out the U.S. government not to send so much in aid, billions of dollars to Israelis, because they don't want those money to be spent to kill innocent people in Palestine. And so they would not have money the way they had. Netanyahu is the main culprit here. He is the mastermind behind attacking Iraq. He was the one who orchestrated the entire drama, the fuss, that Iraq somehow has mass destruction, weapon of mass destruction. Never. Nobody wanted to go into Iraq. It was Benjamin Netanyahu who riled up Congress, U.S. Congress, and made them go to Saddam Hussein, because Saddam Hussein was the attempt to assassinate him was made several times. Each time they failed. They wanted to kill Saddam Hussein before the war, Iraq war. What Benjamin Netanyahu said, well, you cannot assassinate somebody, then let's go to war with him and get rid of him that way. And so he is actually somebody who is the pimp and of U.S. government. He's the pimp. He's the main culprit here. But that is about to change with the U.S. citizen, good people, Samaritan, U.S. citizen, good people. They're waking up and they're saying no means no. We are not going to give you free checks anymore, Netanyahu, to kill these people. For Israel, I don't think they should exist anymore because, or they can exist anymore because you cannot keep on oppressing other people for your own existence. That is simply not possible. It is going to blow up at some point in time. It is going to blow up. History, if you take a look at history, what Germany did, now, Nazi Germany, they could not exist by oppressing the Jews people. Because this is the sunnah, this is the nature of our, of human being, of politics, of history, that if you keep on oppressing people, at one point it's going to end. Either way, it's going to end one way or the other. And so what we are seeing right now is a complete destruction of the state of Israel, and this is something they brought on themselves by oppressing the people of Gaza for so